Okay, so I like to read what the other side has to say. I ended up reading this article in The Root.
Oh gosh, the root. Okay,
Every argument
buckle
against
up.
student debt forgiveness explained and dismissed. Now, dismissed is actually correct. They're not debunked. They're not argued against. They're just dismissed.
You know what's funny? I couldn't
Dismissal.
see the graphic at first, and I thought you were just adding "and dismissed" as a sarcastic aside because that's what they're doing. But it's funny, they're honest about it. They put it right there in the title.
Yep, they just dismiss it. And, we don't have to go through all of these. But they are saying, hey, it's only white people that are arguing against this. Because, by the way, the author of this, I had to look this word up. Do you know what this word is? Carrie, let's see if you need to look it up. World-renowned Wipipologist. You know what this is?
No, spell it. Oh yeah,
Wipologist.
white. No, it's pronounced white peopleologist.
Wipipologist. Okay.
Yeah, it's white person apologist. That's YPPO. WYPPO is a social justice slur for white people.
Yeah. So this person's this person is he studies white people in I think a condescending, derogatory manner. So that's this guy's background. So he's
Yeah,
saying,
if
hey,
they're using YPPO, WYPPO, they're using it in a
right,
condescending manner.
right. So hey, it's only white people that don't want loans forgiven. Okay. It won't help black people. And the argument is, yes, it will, because black people have more student loans. I don't know. Maybe that's an argument against it. Who knows? It won't help all black people. It'll help some. But as I pointed out before, it does need to get paid for. And that will, if it's paid for through money printing or debt, that could easily be incurred by the least affluent in society. Joe Biden can't do this without congressional approval. Who cares? I won't read that one. Some people saved up for college or worked hard to pay off their student debt. They shouldn't have to pay for others' failures. Well, that's a valid argument. But what he says is that's like saying only 50% of Americans or 54% of Americans can't swim. So why should we spend money on lifeguards? I actually agree with that. Why should we spend money on lifeguards? I don't know. Maybe because 54% of Americans can't swim. Seems like if you can't swim, you're probably more in need of a lifeguard at a beach than if you can swim. But okay. So he basically says, I know how, the argument is essentially, I learned how to swim, so why shouldn't I get to watch everyone else drown? No, that's not the argument. The argument is, I don't want to pay for you. That's what the argument is. He obviously he misrepresents it. Student loan forgiveness is just another Democratic-sponsored government handout. There's no such thing as a government handout. That's our money. Now, this is interesting. He says, these two sentences are my favorite here. That's our money. We choose what to do with it. I applaud you. What's his name? Thank you, Michael. I agree with you so much that we should not actually pay taxes. It's our money.
Is it Michael? What's his last name?
Harriet?
Yeah, Michael Harriet. I was thinking haricot, like the beans. Yeah, Michael Harriet is one of the most notorious, I think, reprehensible social justice writers at the root.
Yeah. Well, this is my favorite thing here. I
didn't realize this was his article, but I could have guessed.
Yeah. This is such a weird, this is fun to watch. You watch social justice warriors make these statements that sound like they're moral arguments and that he's got some kind of principle here. That's our money. We get to choose what to do with it. Actually, if it's your money, why is it being taken away from you and spent? And then he says, well, we choose to allocate defense spending, blah, blah. So he's basically saying we can do whatever we want. There's no such thing as a government handout because we can do whatever we want. This is a self-defeating argument. It's retarded. The argument is government handouts don't exist because people can vote for them. All right. Republicans would oppose it. He doesn't care. Some black people would support it. Perhaps because some black people are Republicans. Ooh. Burn! He burned you, black people, Republicans. Look at that. We can't afford it without raising taxes. That's a lie. Well, that is because we don't have to raise taxes. What we can do is print money. But he's going to enter this other fallacy here. He says in 2018, 91 Fortune 500 companies didn't pay a penny in taxes and another 56, blah, blah, blah. He's basically saying we lost $74 billion in revenue because they didn't pay taxes. Why are we bailing them out? Okay. Can we just pause on this for a second? Because this is so ignorant. It's just so dumb. I don't know why people continue to say this and believe it. Okay. First of all, companies pay taxes on profits. Profit, not revenue. Profit. That means if you spend every penny that you take in on, I don't know, building a research facility, paying employees, doing something else, you don't make a profit. You pay taxes on profits. Now, everyone there is paying tax on their personal income. It's not like you're not paying any taxes. But the companies pay taxes on profits because when a company doesn't have profits, they don't have any money left over to pay taxes with. It's totally possible to be a Fortune 500 company and have a year when you don't have any profits. It's completely possible. The other thing that happens, and they use this against Trump all the time, if you've ever been involved in accounting for a large corporation, or even tangentially near it, you know that a lot of times deals are bundled, like things are, financial activity is bundled from one year to another, and sometimes you'll have we'll take a tax hit this year and then we'll have exemption the next 2 years because we're overpaying now because we had something we wanted to do. Companies manage their tax burdens, and sometimes the management of that tax burden involves paying a large portion at one point and then skating free for a couple of years because you overpaid and you were able to justify the overpayment through some other thing. I mean, I'm not a CFO, but accounting can get pretty complex when it comes to tax laws. So you saw them do this with Trump, where they're like, you only paid blah, blah, blah in taxes that year. Well, maybe that's true, but he probably overpaid the previous years and he's taken a year off. Like, people do that. Sophisticated people and corporations manage their tax burden in a way that sometimes that happens. You'll have a year with no taxes. That can absolutely happen. And the other thing I just want to point out is if your proposal is just to close, quote, tax loopholes and, or raise taxes on corporations, they don't have to be here. They do not. The U.S. has some of the worst corporate taxes. Believe it or not, there's a lot of places in Europe with better corporate taxes. So, a lot of these Fortune 500 companies, they're not only stuck in America. They're international conglomerates who've chosen to have their base here. They don't have to. They can move. So you can go and try and play these shenanigans where you're going to try and suck more money out of them, but they don't have to stay here. They don't have to stay here at all. They don't owe you. They don't have to stay here. So the idea that you have it's this retarded idea that there's hey, there's just a dial. Someone forgot to plug a hole in the bucket. It could be filled if we plug the hole. That's not how economics works, you moron. That's not how it works. It's just not how it works. This is moronic. It's a moronic. Maybe you should have got a degree in something. I probably wasn't finance. I don't know what he has his degree in, but that's not how it works.
He probably got it in a critical race theory.
Right. Another argument. This only solves past debt. We need to address student debt going forward. Who uses that argument? I don't know. This teaches people to abdicate their personal responsibility. Good point. And then this is all sarcasm. This is all sarcasm. And he's basically, of course, the financial industry shouldn't be held personally responsible for lending money to people with no credit history. Blah, 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 blah. Government shouldn't be held responsible. Blah, 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 blah. It's just all sarcasm and crap. There's no argument here, actually. Banks might stop lending money if student debt was wiped away. I don't know who makes that argument. Banks don't lend the money that we're talking about. I'm just going to skip it. But this isn't reparations. Okay, no one makes that argument. It's a massive transfer of wealth. Yep, he just doubles down on that one. There are other choices. We can do nothing or do something. I'm open to ideas. Great. I'm glad you're open to ideas, Michael. My idea is stop making student loans that are backed by the government. Stop it. Stop government grants. Stop government loans. Stop it. Stop subsidizing higher education. Stop paying for these massive 100-person administrations in colleges through student loans and student grants that the free market would not provide to students because, for whatever reason, the free market doesn't think it's worth it. Stop it. Stop saddling students with debt. I'm done now.
Thank you.
I know I was on a rant.
I like it. I like your
He
rant.
writes with this kind of like arrogant. There's nothing worse than a condescending, arrogant person who's also a moron, and just says things like, "Oh,
it's that combination.
Doesn't understand anything."
It's the combination of arrogance and ignorance together. That's inseparable.
Yes. Yeah, it's really annoying.
If you were just ignorant but you weren't arrogant, or if you were just arrogant but you weren't ignorant, I'd be fine with it.
Right.
But it's when you combine those two things, it's very
yeah.
oh gosh.
Yeah.